If you want to carry multiple items from the store, you put them in a basket. This can be called a collection. A collection of items. It can be a collection of the same object type or of different types. Sometimes we put things together to balance chaos with some order. It makes things easy to work with. In Python, values can also be called objects, and they can be put in data structures called lists or tuples, or sometimes dictionaries. These are baskets of the world of Python. Let's start with lists. You can create an empty list like this. So you use the keyword list in this case, or you can use square brackets like this. You can create a list that contains values of different type. Here is an example. You will notice that the items in the list are separated by commas. Later, you can even create lists of other lists, which is like having boxes inside of other boxes. In a similar way, you can create empty tuples like this, or just using parentheses like this. You can also have different types of values in a tuple, just like in a list. Care should be taken when creating tuple with one object. Check this out. If I have tuple1 equals hi Joanna, and then print the type of tuple. What? It's a string? Yep. When creating a tuple with one object, add a comma after the object. And that's the way it is done. When you want to get an object from a list or a tuple, you can use the index of that object. This is the position of the object in the collection, only that we start counting from 0. Thus, the first object has index 0, the second object has index 1, and so on and so forth. Here is a demonstration. To get an object from the list, you type the name of the list and the index of the object inside square brackets. So print my list 1. As I said, we start counting from 0, so the index of yes is 1. You can also extract a list from a list like this. In this example, 1 to 3 is a range of indices of which objects are extracted. Here's how it works. Index ranges have slice indices, which are slightly different from the regular indices you use for extracting objects from a list. When you specify an object, this is the indexing that is used. But for slicing, this is the indexing that is used. So the objects between the slice index 1 and 3 are yes and false. This same indexing is also valid for tuples. Now, you're probably wondering, why would I use a tuple instead of a list or the other way around? Well, tuples are lightweight in that they take less memory than lists. This becomes important as the number of items in a collection grows. However, lists are more flexible, although they use more memory. You can change an existing list, but you cannot change an existing tuple. You can append values using the append method. We will talk more about methods in the future. Let's make a list of even numbers up to 8. We can add 14 to this list using the append method like this. If we print even numbers, we see that the list has changed. We can also modify a value at a specific index by assigning a new value to it. To change the value at the last position, we use the index 4. Remember, we start counting from 0. So even numbers at 4 is equal to 12. If we print, we see the list has changed. We can also use -1 for the index of the object at the last position. A negative index starts counting from the end. If you give an index that is not available in your collection, you will get an error. You can remove the first occurrence of an object from a list. Use the remove method. In this case, if I want to remove the first occurrence of A, I say list2 remove A. If I print, I see I only have B and A. To remove all items, I use the clear method. The clear method does not take any arguments. Strings can also work as a collection or a sequence, just like lists and tuples. For example, if I have my name, I can print the first letter like this, and the second letter like this. And I can even slice just the way I did in list, like this. So far, we have used indices to get objects from orderly collections, lists and tuples. Imagine if you could define your own index. The world would be a better place, right? Well, you can, with the power of a dictionary. Not only can you set numbers as your indices, but also other object types such as strings. To create an empty dictionary, dictionary 1, we can do it like this. Or you can use curly brackets like this. To create a dictionary with contents, you use curly brackets and you have a list inside, only that the list items are pairs of key and value. So in this case, you separate the key and value with a colon, like this. And if you print the type of the dictionary, you see its type dictionary. You can get an item using your custom index in the same way as in lists and tuples. As I said, instead of numbers, you can use strings to be the index. As such, we do not really call them indices, but keys. Let us have a dictionary with attributes of a student. So we have a student, age 18, player, yes, present, false, height 174.5. We can get an item from the dictionary using its key. The key for 174.5 is the string height. So we type print student and height and we get 174.5 as output. If we use a key that does not exist in the dictionary, we get an error. If you want to check if a key exists in your dictionary, you can say height in student. This returns false. The Boolean value returned tells us that the height with a capital letter H does not exist in the dictionary student. But when we change the letter from capital H to small letter h, it returns true. That means the key height with small letters exists in the dictionary student. You can combine two or more lists or tuples using the plus sign. This is called concatenation. We have already looked at this in strings. So if you have list 1 with elements 2 and 3 and list 2 with elements A and B, we can say print list 1 and list 2. Notice that the order is maintained. If you start with list 2 in the print statement, the result will start with A. There is a long list of things you can do with lists and tuples and dictionaries, but the list is so long that we cannot clear it in this tutorial. That is why we have just sliced it. Quick question though, how do you like going in circles?